Hey folks, welcome to Unqualified. The fantasy football podcast has been contemplating the biological makeup of Dipper Dots since 2017. I'm your producer, Bob Sleazenhorst, here with my co-hosts, Scott Brady and Sean Johnson. Two rivals that have been sabotaging each other for years, but they decided to come together to help you win your league and make your friends look like idiots. The boys are all buzzing, people. How's it going, fellas?
Boys are buzzing.
Buzzing over here.
The boys are buzzing.
We have an acclaimed Olympic gymnast, Sean Johnson, if your intro
Scott
is to
Brady
be taken
is
seriously there.
Yeah, Scott Brady there's nothing. I don't think there's anything.
Sean Johnson decided to make an appearance, but we just got back from Fright Fest this weekend. That was an interesting ordeal.
Experience, yeah. Fright Fest in Six Flags Great Adventure in Jersey.
New Jersey. It was it was interesting. Scott was way too hungover, and then we tried to go through this maze, and it was just terrible. It was
the
really
$35 maze pass that we had to wait 2 hours to get into one maze
Actually,
that lasted 5 minutes.
I'm going to take this opportunity to bash Six Flags because people need to know about this. We paid $35 each for a quote-unquote haunted maze, right? I'm emphasizing the word maze because we waited 2 hours online, and the line was like segmented, so you would walk around a corner and then find out there was more line, and it was really, really upsetting. We waited 2 hours, we got to the front of the line, and then we went through the maze, which actually turned out to just be a path that we were ushered through within 5 minutes, and it was over.
If that.
And none of us were really that scared.
Yeah, were you guys scared at all? Like at any point?
No.
Nope.
I wasn't really. I was like...
I was cold and tired at that point, too.
I was jumping up and down and grabbing onto Scott's shoulders, but...
Scott Brady's shoulders.
But that's just how
That's just like a normal...
Yeah, you
we're
were doing that, actually. Really quick,
I just hate when shit pops out of me. I
forgot about
can't
that.
handle it.
We got in there, and Rob's like, I don't want to be in the back.
He didn't want to be in the front. He didn't want to be in the back. He didn't want to be in the middle.
He was holding on to me. And meanwhile, the girlfriend is in front of me, and he's behind me holding on to me for dear life.
Wow.
I just had one rule. I just wanted to not be in the back, and then everybody ran in before me because obviously nobody else wanted to be in the back. So I just bit the bullet and did the work. But it was really bad. And next year at Fright Fest, nobody should go and don't pay for the maze. It's a total bullshit.
Well, first of all, like
scam.
the tickets that we got were discounted, right? So it was $55 to get in or something like that. And then this was an additional $35, like a fee basically, on top of it. And it was just the biggest waste of money.
It's like, you can pay to come into the park, and then if you want, pay more.
Hey, pay for this. Pretty good, you know?
In short,
it's like in-app purchases.
The mazes sound like a good idea. They're not. Just go to Six Flags, enjoy your day on the roller coasters. That's all you got to do. Just forget
really
about
quick
the
too.
extra stuff.
I thought it was going to be a cornfield maze for some reason. I don't know why I thought that. But I was
had
just picturing
cornfield
like
in my mind.
Yeah, corn and like hay and stuff like that. You walk through it, and like you get lost, and then there's like a zombie and you act like you feel like you're gonna die because you're lost in the middle of a cornfield. I don't know.
We were thinking that, but then also we were thinking, where are they going to put a farm in the middle of Six Flags?
Exactly, that's not possible. Right.
So
didn't
our
really
logic was flawed.
Yeah.
But anyways, what happened in fantasy football this week?
Real quick, Nitro is still dope. Still
elite. Still a top 5 roller coaster.
It's not all bad.
Yes, definitely go for Nitro.
Fantasy football this week. So, my biggest takeaway is, and this is just like NFL in general, but a lot of middling teams that we thought were going to be terrible coming into the year. The Rams, the Bills, Jets, Saints, among some of them, are actually pretty good. They're better than we thought. The Rams are sporting a 5-2 record. Jets 3-4, but I thought they were going to be 0-7.
They're feisty. They're a feisty squad.
Same with the Bills. They're feisty. Saints, like they had an easy matchup this week, but all those teams are better than we thought they were. Coaching matters. Sean McVay and the Rams, they're 5-2. That offense looks amazing. Kyle Shanahan, I mean, not for the 49ers. They're pretty bad, but the Falcons with Steve Sarkisian are struggling a little bit, and that's due to Kyle Shanahan leaving. So that's my takeaways.
Yeah, I think kind of in the same vein, like you're kind of saying that these guys are like kind of consolidating that they're good teams this week. For me, we're seeing teams that we thought were going to be good teams finally coming back and returning to form. So that's the Patriots, Seahawks, Steelers, even the Raiders looked great on Thursday night. They should be back to their usual dynamic offensive, outputs every week. On the other hand, teams that are fading quickly on the other end of the spectrum, from Arizona. Tennessee barely beat Cleveland this week. Denver looked atrocious offensively again. And then Green Bay with Brett Hundley didn't look like, outside of Aaron Jones, anything really solid is going to be happening there offensively. So you're seeing, the teams really start to separate this week.
Yeah. I want to talk about the best division. What I think is the best division. It's the AFC West. I think it's the AFC West, right? The Chargers, the Raiders, the Chiefs, and the Broncos. Right now, the Broncos might be the worst team in that division. Chargers won 3 in a row. They're 3-4. The Raiders are coming back. They're 3-4 as well. And they looked back to form. The Chiefs lost 2 in a row, 5-2 now. So that's like a really tight division. Even the Broncos still have a chance to win it, but that's the most exciting division to me right now in football.
Yeah, I mean, I think we thought that coming into the year, and I think we also thought the NFC South would be a really, really good division. And honestly, right now, outside of the Saints, I'm not super impressed with any team in that division.
Yeah, I agree.
It's kind of interesting that we're kind of one for 2 on our divisional predictions here.
Yeah, it's like a third of the way through the season. We got some time still. Let's talk about injuries really quick. Not too many this week, luckily. Thank God for those players.
Yeah. Finally.
We have a ton in like 3 weeks in a row, but this week wasn't too bad. Still a couple, though. Jay Cutler, a couple of cracked ribs. He's expected to miss at least one game, maybe a couple. Matt Moore stepping in as the quarterback, and he's pretty viable as a backup.
I love Matt Moore. I fucking love that guy.
He's scrappy. I love it.
He's like the, what's the backup in Blue Mountain State? What's that guy's name again?
Alex something.
Alex Moran? Is that it?
Moran, yeah, Moran.
Matt Moore is like the Alex Moran of the NFL. That guy is like pretty good, and like he's just been chilling out.
That.
I'm pumped for him this week. He's actually on my my Hail Mary list for this week, so we'll get to him later.
Over under, do you think he's going to do better than Cutler statistically,
yeah.
And
much better?
All right, cool. Put it on the board. Carson Palmer broke his arm. He's expected to miss 8 weeks after surgery, so that's a brutal one. They're on a bye this week, but Drew Stanton is their backup, and Bruce Arians committed to him, and that sucks for all those pass catchers.
It does. It really does.
So bad. And for Adrian Peterson, because that team's going to be down now, and AP is not on the field when they're down.
I think unless David Johnson comes back like quickly, this team is done. And even if he does, I think they're probably still not going to win any games. I think David Johnson is probably the only like sure thing on this team, and he's not even on the field. So this is scary.
Yeah. A couple other ones. Mike Wallace had a pretty scary concussion, so he's in the protocol right now. Had to leave the game. Chris Hogan took a hard hit against the Falcons, the Patriots wide receiver who's doing really well. He re-entered the game, but he might be banged up a little bit moving forward. And then tight ends, Delaney Walker had an ankle sprain, but bye week next week will help him, and he should be back to form, hopefully after the bye. All right, let's get into it. Blue chip players for week 7. First of all, I can't believe we're in week 7. This is ridiculous.
Crazy.
It's unbelievable. And we're going to do a week 8 preview soon. This just sounds crazy. Anyway, blue chip players for week 7, guys who won the week for you. We want to start with the player of the week, the blue corn tortilla chip player of the week. I did flow as well as I wanted to. The blue Terra chip player of the week.
I like that.
There's better. 2 of them. That's better? Okay. We'll go with that.
Sponsor us. Terra. Sponsor us. Do it.
Ezekiel Elliott, Dallas running back, had 147 yards through the ground, 2 touchdowns, 1 catch, 72 yards, and a touchdown through the air on 3 targets, 40 PPR points. Also, runner-up, Amari Cooper, back to his maybe wide receiver 2 production, 11 catches, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns on 19 targets for 44 PPR points.
Yeah, this is crazy. These are 2 guys that, like, I don't think anyone first off, I don't think people expected Zeke to play this week after the whole drama with his
there was a chance
impending suspension and the legal drama and everything. So that's, he went from probably not being in people's lineups to winning them weeks. And then Amari Cooper was probably sitting on a lot of people's benches. He's on one of my bench in one of my leagues, and I did not see this coming. I wasn't ready to drop him or even trade him low because I don't think I could have got anything for him, but I did not see this coming. I don't think anyone really did. And if you did, congrats, because he was outstanding this week.
Well, this kind of goes into that thing. Don't sit your studs, and not to say he was a stud at all this year. He was not, but past 2 years he was, and this is why we said that he's still a flex guy because you still want to put him in your lineup at some point. So, for example, I had him in one of my lineups, and I was up by like 70 points because I had him and Derek Carr after Thursday night. But
nice.
Neither here nor there, I guess.
Look at that
goes
segue
into
too. Oh my god.
So quarterback Derek Carr. He was on someone's fail Mary list last week.
Yeah, I'll take the L on that one. I was spot on with my other two, so with two of my other fail Mary. So
huge bounce back week, 417 yards, 3 touchdowns. Looks like a QB1 again, maybe low end.
Absolutely.
Dak Prescott, 234 yards, 3 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown as well. Looks like a solid, locked in, almost top 5 QB this year. Would you agree with that or no?
I don't know. Like, I think he's a little more matchup dependent than he's too matchup dependent to be a top 5 QB for me. I feel like that's like those are the guys you start every week regardless. I feel like most people have like a solid backup with Dak, and when he has a tough matchup, I would probably go with the other guy. I do like really like
Wentz or Jameis.
Exactly, but I am definitely encouraged by this game. You know, I actually played against him in one of our leagues, and he was scaring the crap out of me. So. Definitely. I mean, and he honestly could add more if they didn't bench him in the fourth quarter just to keep him healthy. So, really, really good game for him this week.
Definitely. Russell Wilson, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns.
He's
Again,
back.
Solid performance.
Told you.
Yep. Alex Smith, 25 of 36, 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. If you told me going into the year that Alex Smith would be throwing it for more than 300 yards in one game, I would have told you you're crazy. So he's airing it out. That competition with Patrick Mahomes getting drafted, I think lit a fire under his ass. But these guys are all QB1s moving forward.
I completely agree.
Pretty rock solid. Running backs, let's go through them quick. Ezekiel Elliott, we just said that. Looks like a solid running back one. LaShawn McCoy, 23 carries, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 catches. Todd Gurley, 22 rushes, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. He had 8 targets in the passing game. Pretty solid. Le'Veon Bell, 35 rushes, 134 yards, 58 yards through the air. All 3 of those guys, LaShawn McCoy, Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, lock them into your lineup. They're good to go. Mark Ingram is one guy that's looking like a RB1 now. So he had 22 of 105, 1 touchdown, 4 catches for 5 yards. I wouldn't look into that too much. And then another guy who's really vaulting himself up, maybe a low-end running back 2 at this point, Aaron Jones on Green Bay, 17 rushes, 131 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 targets to the air. Looking pretty good, too.
Yeah, we're not even halfway through the year, and Mark Ingram now, he has back-to-back weeks where I think he was a blue-chip guy, and Aaron Jones, this is his second appearance here, and this guy was not even the starter coming into the year. So I would go even higher. I think both these guys are like low-end running back 1s. Obviously Jones is probably more, he's safer as a 2. You probably aren't relying on him as a running back 1. But I can't think of 15 running backs I'd rather have in my lineup than Aaron Jones. So I really like this guy moving forward.
Yeah, he's had 4 games, like solid games where he's gotten double-digit carries, and Ty Montgomery coming back is a little hurt. But he's more of we kind of said this, like he's more of a complimentary back. He's not a straight-up running back. He's like a wide he was a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So they probably want him on third down. I think Aaron Jones is, they're going to be running it without Aaron Rodgers too. All right, wide receivers. Mark Cooper, we already said that. 19 targets. Tough to trust, but he's probably a wide receiver 2. He's not going to have another game like this, but say a wide receiver 2 at this point.
You got to throw him in your lineup after this week, even if you
put him back in.
Even if you can't stand watching him drop the ball every time it's thrown to him, you have no choice now. So
that's the other thing. He did have a couple drops in that game too.
Yeah.
So they force-fed him 19 targets, but he had some drops. So just be careful with that. Tyreek Hill. He had 2 rushes, 7 yards, nothing there, but 6 catches, 125 yards, 1 touchdown for 8 targets. You say he's a wide receiver 1. I agree with you. I think you got to lock him into your lineup every week.
Yeah, I
think he's a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end, high risk, high reward wide receiver 2.
The most encouraging thing with this guy is even when he doesn't have that huge play, he touches the ball a ton. They give him the ball in the running game. They give him screen passes. So if you have him in a PPR league, he has a kind of sneaky high floor. So this guy is just awesome this year. What a steal for people that drafted this guy.
Yeah. 2 other guys that should be locked in your lineups moving forward. Julio Jones, good bounce back week. First touchdown of the year, 9 receptions, 99 yards, a touchdown on 13 targets.
It was a thing of beauty. It was a man's touchdown.
It always is with him, but he doesn't get that many. And we said that going in our preseason pod that Julio doesn't really get a lot of touchdowns. So first one of the year in week 7. All right, hopefully he turns it up, but he's still a top 5 guy. Doug Baldwin, 9 receptions, 92 yards, 1 touchdown on 12 targets. High-end wide receiver 2. I think he's a wide receiver 1 right now. I think this is his coming out game right here.
Yeah, he was all over the field against the Giants. I watched almost that whole game. It was weird. He didn't play a ton on first and second down, but every third down he was in the game, and every third down he got targeted, and he's just Russell Wilson's guy. So he got loose for what would have been a 64-yard touchdown if Wilson just hit him. So this could have been an even bigger game for Baldwin.
Yep, lock him into your lineups. And then one guy that I don't think you should lock into your lineups, but pick up, Kenny Stills on Miami. 6 receptions, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns on 9 targets. He's a good flex option maybe moving forward. Could be vaulted into the low-end wide receiver 2 discussion if Devontae Parker sits out a couple more games. He replaced him really well.
Yeah, and a big thing, I'm going to get to this with Matt Moore. I think he's a little more willing to take deep shots at this stage in his career than Jay Cutler. So I think that is only going to help Kenny Stills, who is one of the top deep threats, in the league. You might not do a ton otherwise, but this guy can, he's got jets.
Yep. Tight ends. Let's go through these quickly. 2 rookies headline it. O.J. Howard had 6 for 98 and 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. So he caught all 6 of his targets. I don't really know what to make of it. I think he's a tight end 2 still. I don't think you should start him. Maybe do a speculative ad, but he's a roll of a dice player at this point still.
Yeah, I just think the fact that the tight end position group is so thin leads me to believe that I feel like I would rather play O.J. Howard than some other low-end tight end 1, because even if he is like a tight end 2, like his ceiling is so much higher. So I think it really depends on your team construction, but this is what we kind of expected from him at some point in his career just based on how he looked at Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, maybe let's say you have like a Jack Doyle and he hasn't been doing well, and now you heard the news that Andrew Luck's had some setbacks. I mean, the main reason Jack Doyle would have had value this year is because Andrew Luck throws it to the tight end. And you're seeing Jacoby Brissett, quarterback of the Colts, not really throw it to Doyle. Maybe you do a speculative ad of O.J. Howard and kind of roll the dice with matchups there.
You could do a lot worse.
Yeah. The other rookie, Evan Engram, 6 for 60 with 1 touchdown on 12 targets. He's Eli's top target. He's a tight end top 1 5. Right now.
I think he's a top 5 tight end right now.
I would say a low end tight end 1, but he's still a tight end 1. Like I would still rather have Kelsey, Gronk, Ertz, a couple others, maybe even Rudolph the rest of the year.
Okay.
I mean, Rudolph hasn't been doing well, but I think he'll turn it up. But Engram, I think, top 10 for me. And then Jared Cook, 6 receptions, 107 yards, 7 targets. It's a high-end tight end 2.
Yeah,
it doesn't excite us. Derek Carr threw for 417 yards. That's why he had the money. And then Witten, 4 for 54, 1 touchdown on 4 targets. So low-end tight end 1, he only had 4 targets there.
Yeah.
And then a couple of defenses and kickers. Bears had 2 touchdowns, 5 sacks, and are the first team in NFL history, or their safety, rookie safety, I forget his name.
Eddie Jackson.
Eddie Jackson was the first player in NFL history to have 2 defensive touchdowns of more than 75 yards.
Crazy.
It's nuts. Chargers shut out their opponent, 1 touchdown, 2 fumble recoveries, 5 sacks. It looked good. And then the Jaguars shut out and had 10 sacks again, second time this week.
Poor Jacoby Brissett, man. Oh, my God. If you think Andrew Luck's coming back and then you just watch that Indianapolis game tape, there's no shot he comes back this year. It's very disappointing.
That team is very disappointing. A couple of kickers, Chris Boswell and Greg Zuerlein did really well this week, double-digit points. And then Kai Forbath had 6 field goals, 2 from 50-plus. And, of course, missed an extra point, but still had 24 points, Forbath, that is. So, a couple good kickers to be on the lookout for and to pick up if they haven't been picked up already.
This episode of Unqualified is sponsored by X Collector. Are you diving headfirst into a relationship knowing full well it's going to end in a blazing inferno? Well, X Collector is for you. X Collector is an app that tracks all your data the moment you enter into a relationship, so you can avoid all those places and the phone number of the significant other that ruined your life. X Collector tracks your location, restaurants you've been to, gifts you've bought, your financial data, and if your significant other tries to steal your credit card information or identity, X Collector sends you a notification on the spot. X Collector can also let you know if your ex is in the area. With location services, just turn it on in settings, and you'll never have to worry about that crazy ever again. Let's listen to a testimonial from one of X Collector's valued customers.
My boyfriend is a fucking piece of shit. I never want to see him again. So I got X Collector. I can avoid Duvion, that restaurant he took me to for my birthday. It was terrible. They only served crepes. Fucking crepes.
Hey, this is Jim from Amazon Subprime. I use X Collector to keep my wife away because every time she sees me, even if I'm like 100 yards away, she comes straight sprinting right at me. She starts throwing punches at me like a fucking kangaroo up in the hot desert. Like she saw a fucking... Thanks, guys. X Collector.
All right, those were our Blue Terra. Terra, sponsor us. Chip players of the week. Now we're going to get to the other side of things, the negative side, the duds. And we're not going to waste any time here. We're going to start with our Milk Duds, dud of the week. Milk Duds, hit us up. This guy has me and Scott fighting over the Oakland Raiders backup running backs already due to his efforts or lack of efforts in week 7. Marshawn Lynch. We've been going on about this guy for months, it feels like. This is easily going to be, in my opinion, the lowest low. He had 0.9 fantasy points, so probably 0 for most leagues that don't do decimal scoring. He ran onto the field when he wasn't in the game, shoved an official, got himself ejected. He's suspended next week. So that's just an outstanding negative effort from Marshawn Lynch. It can't get much worse than that. Brutal week 7, and probably crushed your team this week.
Would have been worse if he fumbled it.
True. Yeah.
He didn't fumble it on either of his carries, so,
You can always go down a little bit more, I guess.
There's silver lining.
But we'll get to the Oakland Raiders backups next week because obviously that suspension might open the door for a new bell cow in the Oakland running game, the new resurgent Oakland offense. But let's get to the quarterbacks. It was actually kind of a consistent week for the quarterbacks outside of a couple injuries. 2 big names that kind of disappointed this week. Cam Newton. I'll give you props, Scott. He was on your Fail Mary list last week. He had 2 picks, and I think he fumbled again. Also, Marcus Mariota on the Tennessee Titans let me personally down big time against the Cleveland Browns. He didn't turn the ball over at all, but he only had 200 yards and no touchdowns. Yeah, just a bad game against the Browns. And Trevor Siemian, awful. Another awful performance. Completion percentage looks fine, but this guy's not getting anything going for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, Siemian doesn't look like he's not doing anything for that offense. He's just like there.
Yeah.
And they have Brock Osweiler and Paxton Lynch, so any way you spin it, like, it's not good.
Yeah, like I kind of likened him to McLovin a couple weeks ago. I think he's more of just like the non-McLovin Fogel. So like he doesn't have the edge that McLovin has. He's just kind of existing. Fogel. Yeah, he's like, saying chicka yeah, and it's just brutal.
Also, have you ever heard of a quarterback being named Trevor? Like if you could think about a quarterback name, would you think it's Trevor? It's a weird quarterback name.
There's got to be
Trevor
at least
sounds
one.
like a little kid.
Sounds like a little douchebag kid, like a 13-year-old that has like
severe.
Yeah, exactly. Like studs in his earrings, and he like hits his dog. Yeah, fuck you, Trevor.
What do you think of the bad guy from Toy Story? Oh my god.
Yeah, that's exactly who I was just picturing. Actually, yeah.
Oh my god.
That's why I said all those weird things. Sorry.
All right, so let's look at some other running backs now. We talked about Lynch. Ty Montgomery, I'm taking full credit for this. He was on my Fail Mary list. Aaron Jones is really emerging. Ty Montgomery, without Aaron Rodgers, might be in big trouble. Adrian Peterson had a big letdown after a good week in week 6. Derrick Henry, 13 rushes, 13 yards. That's not cutting it, especially against Cleveland. Melvin Gordon, running back 1, let us down. 18 rushes for 38 yards. Pretty brutal game for him. Mike Gillisley, not looking great. Deion Lewis seems to be emerging there. And Tevin Coleman let us down against the New England Patriots on Sunday night. So I think out of all these guys, Melvin Gordon, obviously, we're not super worried about, but everybody else, is there anyone that sticks out to you that you do trust from the rest of those guys?
No, and the only reason we put Melvin Gordon up here is because he played Denver, and that's just to show how good Denver's rush defense is. They haven't let up a touchdown all year, so Gordon should be fine. But a couple, if anyone's playing Denver, you got to downgrade them a little bit. The rest of these guys are pretty much like running back 2s or flex guys. Did you say the guy I'm most worried about? What were we saying?
I was saying, do you trust any of them besides
do I trust any of
Melvin
them?
Gordon?
Gillisley, no. Tevin Coleman, no. They gave the ball to Devontae Freeman a lot. And Mike Gillisley, there's 3 other running backs literally in there. Derrick Henry, no, because DeMarco Murray's still the guy there, really. I would say Adrian Peterson, if any of them, because he's the only rusher there that really has any value. Andre Ellington is only catching passes out of there. But if they're down, like they were, this is what we said last week. If they're down, like they were this week, he's not going to get a lot of rushes. He's barely going to get any catches or targets. He had 1 reception. He had 11 rushes and 21 yards, 0 touchdowns. That's it. So this team, everything really needs to go well for Adrian Peterson to have a good game. But out of all these guys, I would say Peterson and then maybe Coleman is next.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said pretty much. The rest of these guys probably will find themselves on most people's benches, I think, moving forward. Wide receiver, oh man, another huge call by me. AJ Green, I'm taking full credit for this. 3 catches for 41
You're
yards
patting
on
yourself
6
on the
targets.
back right now, aren't you?
I mean, I have to because I was just, so off on my Derek Carr call that I got to celebrate what I did get right. I think all this shows is Pittsburgh's defense is really good. Very sneaky good. They play a really good brand of zone pass defense. They can rush the passer with Bud Dupree and TJ Watt and James Harrison. Can't leave him off or he'll haunt your dreams. So this Pittsburgh defense is solid. I would, slightly downgrade every single wide receiver that plays against them, regardless of who they are. Keenan Allen had a pretty subpar game. Larry Fitzgerald was brutal without Carson Palmer in the game. T.Y. Hilton, bad game and then called out his offensive line afterwards, so that's definitely not helping him very much. Oh, man, the list goes on and on. Green Bay Packers wide receivers Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams had bad games. Demaryius Thomas, we just talked about Trevor Siemian. Demaryius Thomas had a pretty bad game as well. I mean, most of these guys are guys that you kind of have to put in your lineup, but really discouraging week. For me, I think, before I turn it over to you, I think Keenan Allen is the guy I trust most here. Again, played against Denver.
I'd say, yeah, AJ Green and Keenan Allen, they should be in lineups regardless. Jordy Nelson, 1 for 13 on 4 targets. Devontae Adams, 2 for 12 on 5 targets. Those are the guys that scare me the most now because Brett Hundley's throwing it to them, and hopefully he turns it around a little bit, but it's going to look like they're going to really eke out some games and run it a lot. So those guys should be downgraded a little bit. Demaryius Thomas just had a really good game, and he was a little hampered, so I think he should be fine. Larry Fitz, honestly, I trust him still because he's had some up and down. Like when he's had a really good game, the next week he's had a little downgrade. 3 for 29 with 0 touchdowns on 3 targets. He only got 3 targets, and they really forced Drew Stanton into that game. So hopefully the bye week next week really gets them to on the same page, and Fitzy should be fine. But T.Y. Hilton, 2 for 27, 0 touchdowns on 8 targets, and news that Andrew Luck might be out longer. That T.Y. Hilton scares me the rest of the year. And he was a buy low a couple weeks ago, but that was with the news that Andrew Luck might come back, and now that Luck might not come back for another few weeks or the rest of the season, I think you got to downgrade T.Y. to a wide receiver 2 or flex guy.
Yeah, let's just clarify real quick. There was a setback with Andrew Luck's comeback from his injury. I think it was reported that he's not going to practice this week now. So that's what we're referencing here when we say that, the Andrew Luck news. Based on how the Colts are playing right now, and especially how their offensive line is blocking, I don't see how, Colts management can say, oh, let's throw Andrew Luck back in there. So I agree. I think we download T.Y. Hilton to almost like a premier flex guy at this point because he's, going to be boomer bust with Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball to him. Let's talk about it real quick about 3 tight ends. Austin Hooper came off 2, encouraging weeks to put up a one target, 1 catch, 6-yard performance. Tough to put him in your lineups. Kobe Fleener has continued to disappoint. I don't think he'll ever develop chemistry with Drew Brees. I don't think they click. And Gronk with a little bit of a letdown, 3 catches for 51 yards. Tom Brady missed him on a couple of throws that could have helped out his stat line, but I don't know. It was kind of weird. The Patriots played really well, but Gronk didn't really get it going.
Yeah, I think Kobe Fleener is droppable. I think we said it a couple weeks ago. Austin Hooper, who the hell knows what's going on with him? But those 2 guys, I wouldn't count on them week to week. Gronk will be fine, but I agree.
Yeah, let's talk about a couple of defenses and kickers real quick. The Chiefs defense let, people down big time. Oakland really broke out on Thursday night. The Bengals got shredded by the Steelers. So, we kind of saw that coming, but really discouraging for a team that was playing pretty good defense before that. And then Matt Bryant, brutal Sunday night game. I think he got hurt, or maybe he was hurt and missed a couple kicks. Dan Bailey got hurt. I think the Cowboys had like a defensive back kicking extra points or something. It was just
Safety. Yeah.
It was a safety, yeah. So
He got 2 for 3.
I mean, let's pick that guy up. I mean, is that even
Pretty impressive.
possible?
Yeah. I don't
see.
think it is because he's a safety technically. If he had a designation as a kicker too, that'd be cool. On Matt Bryant, on his bye week, he had a back injury, and he's been 1 for 4 since. He was 1 for 2 last week, 2 weeks ago, 0 for 2 this week. So if he's hurt, I would just drop him, pick up someone else. It's silly to hold on to him, and especially with Atlanta's struggles on offense lately.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up the Cowboys safety that kicked the extra points right now. Can't find his name, but if you have him in your individual defensive player leagues, I'm sure he helped you out this week. So nice little bonus production from your
Jeff Heath.
your safety.
Jeff Heath.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kicker of the week? I think so.
I think so, yeah.
All right, cool.
Terra Blue Chip.
And that wraps it up for duds.
All right, let's talk about waiver wire. These are guys to pick up, help you out for week 8 and moving forward. We're going to highlight 2 guys each. So, Sean, you want to talk about your number 1 ad for this week and moving forward?
My number 1 guy for this week is DeAndre Washington, the Oakland Raiders running back. This guy stepped in when Marshawn Lynch got ejected and had a pretty good game. Looked, just past the eye test. This guy looks like an NFL running back. He can catch the ball. He can block. He can run on the inside and the outside. He's a really versatile guy, and I think he has a very, very big opportunity this week to seize this job. I still think Lynch will play a part when he does come back, but I think DeAndre Washington has a very good opportunity this week. This is kind of like a speculative ad, but I think this is the guy you want to own in the Oakland backfield heading into week 8.
Well, I'll go the opposite route. I'll say Jalen Richard is the guy that you want to own, especially in PPR leagues. He's always been the pass-catching guy there, but they split work very evenly, and Richard actually had 1 more touch than him. So this is a stat line from last week against Kansas City in their win. DeAndre Washington, 9 rushes, 33 yards, 1 touchdown. He had 4 targets with 3 receptions and for 7 yards. Jalen Richard, 9 carries, 31 yards, no touchdown, 4 targets for 4 receptions and 45 yards. So more through the air there. Didn't get that touchdown. DeAndre Washington looked really good on that touchdown run. He looked powerful and fast and quick laterally, but I think they're going to split pretty evenly. And Lynch's suspension is only 1 week, so this is a very small Band-Aid here, but I like Richard, especially in PPR leagues. He's going to be the pass-catching guy there, and he showed some running chops too.
Yeah, I think we agree that this is kind of, there's, not necessarily the super high ceiling here with these ads, but I think we agree that it's worth adding these running backs or rolling the dice if you have an empty spot, because there could be, a pretty decent roll coming from one of these guys.
Absolutely. And I'll give you my number 1 ad for this week, and it's kind of close between him and Richard. Deion Lewis, New England running back, is getting he's getting more work than Gillislee. Rex Burkhead was back this past week, but Rex Burkhead and James White are the pass-catching guys there, and Gillislee is a very one-dimensional player. Deion Lewis in 2015 had a really resurgent year with New England, and then last year got hurt, if you remember, but he was a pretty highly drafted guy. Like, people were drafting him in the 5th round last year.
5th round.
So he has.
I took him last year.
Yeah, you did. I remember that. Yeah, and you took Gillislee this year. And you're going to learn your lesson with New England running backs.
I should.
But Deion Lewis, he showed some poise in the backfield. He could do it all. He could catch. He could run. So I would add him if you're a Gillislee owner, and then roll the dice between one or the other. See who emerges. I think it'll be Deion though.
Yeah, my number 2 ad, I guess, for this week is Kenny Stills. We mentioned him a little bit earlier. He was a blue chip player this week. I think Matt Moore's skill set suits this guy the most out of all the Miami pass catchers. And with Devontae Parker still a little banged up, I think Stills is definitely worth an ad this week.
All right, so to add guys, you got to drop guys. So guys that are likely cuttable in redraft leagues. Any Arizona pass catcher that not named Larry Fitzgerald. So that's Jerron Brown. Yep. That's J.J. Nelson. That's John Brown, even 1 reception this week from John Brown. You could probably drop now that Drew Stanton is the quarterback and Carson Palmer's out. Jonathan Stewart in Carolina he just sucks. He just sucks. 14 rushes and he can't do shit with them. Last week, before this week, he had 8 rushes for -4 yards. He's just a bum. So just cut him. And then Martavis Bryant, on Pittsburgh. 1 reception, 3 yards,
Yeah.
I think 2 targets, and he requested a trade again and didn't show up to mandatory meeting on Monday because he was sick. So that's not good.
Biggest thing for me, more than any of that stuff, the biggest reason that I would consider cutting him, I wouldn't definitely do it. It depends on who you're cutting him for, obviously. The biggest reason that I wouldn't mind letting him go is because I think Juju Smith-Schuster has really kind of emerged as the number 2 wide receiver in the Pittsburgh offense, and he definitely fits in better culturally. You kind of can just tell that from their touchdown celebrations. So
yeah, that was awesome. If you didn't see that, check out Juju Smith-Schuster's touchdown celebration last week. Also, I just want to mention he was my Hail Mary wide receiver last week. So
yeah,
cool.
Great call.
Thanks. Pat myself on the back too. All right, buy low guys. Jordan Howard, they rush it a ton. Mitch Trubisky was 4 of 7 this week. He was 4 of 7. He only threw it 7 times. 7 times in a whole game. And Jordan Howard is the number 1 running back there, so they're going to run it. And they only had the ball for like 20 minutes, but they're a running team. And then you can make a case to buy Larry Fitzgerald low. I think he'll be fine with Drew Stanton. Adrian Peterson, that's a roll of the dice because if they're down, which they might be a lot, he's not going to get that much work. And then Aaron Jones, he should be owned in all leagues, but Aaron Jones, Green Bay running back, now is the time to get him if you can.
I agree. Yeah, jump on the train while you can. It's kind of almost like a buy high right now, but
Yeah,
I would definitely consider doing that myself.
A buy medium. Buy medium.
Yeah.
Sell high, guys. Dak Prescott. I don't know why you put him on here. I kind of like Dak for the rest of the year. QB1.
I mean, I'm just not really buying them as like a top-notch team right now. I think that people are going to go crazy because they just beat the crap out of San Francisco, but San Francisco is not going to stop anybody. So
right.
I definitely would consider shopping Dak Prescott. Obviously, if you are counting on him and you need a quarterback, I wouldn't just throw him away. But if he's your backup, or if you have a really nice backup, then you might as well see what you can get, because this is probably going to be his best game of the year if I had to gamble.
That makes sense. Okay, that's good to know, actually. And then a couple of sell high guys that you can make the case for. Amari Cooper is probably not going to have a game like that, and he's been terrible all year. I mean, last week he was 5 receptions for 28 yards before this incredible week. So you can make the case to sell him high. Mark Ingram, although he's a running back 1, you could, if you don't think he's going to keep the production up, which we think he will, to be honest, you could sell him high. And then, let's say you're going to get Leonard Fournette or one of those top guys, maybe a Jordan Howard, then you can make the case to sell Mark Ingram high for one of those more steady guys. And then another guy, DeMarco Murray, we've kind of been telling you all along to sell him high. He's just he's just not that good.
Get rid of him. He just I watched a little bit of that game too, and he there was a couple times where he just went down and didn't get up. So I mean, that eventually it's going to happen for good for this year.
Right.
So, and Derrick Henry's just biding his time. Obviously, Derrick Henry didn't play well this week, but right. I think he does have something to offer. Just real quick on Mark Ingram, I think the most important thing here is that I feel like a lot of people are swooning for Alvin Kamara. That might be why you might want to almost be like, oh, okay, well, Mark Ingram's killing it. You also have Alvin Kamara. I think there's plenty of people out there that I bet would like to play both of them on their team. So let them do that. Trade Mark Ingram away for a top-notch wide receiver, or a guy like you mentioned, Leonard Fournette, who I think is transcendent. And I think that'd be definitely a great move.
This episode of Unqualified is sponsored by Amazon Pulse. Amazon Pulse is a service that allows you to buy items on your mental impulse. All it takes is one minorly brutal invasive surgery, and you can be on your way to impulse buying anything that comes to mind. Simply place the chip in your Abdullah oblongata, and Amazon will automatically order any item that pops into your head. You don't have to do anything. So, you have a nice night out with the boys, get a little too drunk, you wake up, the boys are all buzzing, and you wake up in a pile of packages. It's the best day ever. Amazon Pulse just saved your weekend. Saturdays are now days for opening packages. Also, there are days for going to the hospital because your chip is malfunctioning. But it's okay. That's a minor side effect. Let me just list a few of these side effects here. Convulsions, temporary blindness, permanent blindness, bleeding out of your eyes, bleeding out of your ass, nosebleeds, uncontrollable finger movements, fast and furious eye movement, uncontrollable moaning on buses, infrequent barking, an excessive stash of box cutters, 90% risk of Ebola, a sports hernia on your arm, regardless of whether you play sports or not, inability to solve puzzles and or problem solve, tits, hobo kicking, multiple genders, you fucking bigot, becoming a flat earther, consistently buying pants that are too big, fidget spinner addiction, and in some cases, infinite stutter. Amazon Pulse.
All right, on to our preview, Week 8 preview section, form of Would You Rather. So before we do that, and before I explain it, I think most people know what it is already. Teams on bye. This is a rough one in Week 8. Got the Arizona Cardinals, the Green Bay Packers, Jacksonville Jaguars, Los Angeles Rams, New York Giants, and the Tennessee Titans all on bye next week. 6 teams. This is when your team starts to fall apart, literally.
Yep.
All right, anyway. So to get those guys out of your lineups, for Week 8, we're going to do Would You Rather. So we're going to do 3 different matchups, good, moderate, bad, and then we're going to choose between 2 guys in each of those segments. So quarterback, good matchup, Cam Newton at Tampa Bay or Jameis Winston versus Carolina. Those 2 guys playing each other.
I would go with Cam just because I think that Tampa Bay's defense has been a lot worse than Carolina's. And, I think Cam, wasn't great this week, but was pretty good a couple weeks before that. And Jameis is just throwing way too many picks right now. So I'll go with Cam in this out of these 2.
I'm going to go Winston. He looked like that shoulder, that AC joint didn't really hurt him. And Cam has thrown now 5 picks in the last 2 weeks with 1 touchdown. And he's rushed for 1 touchdown, but that's just not enough to sustain QB1 production. Jameis, it was a really encouraging game for him this past week. Throwing for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, so I'll take him. Moderate matchup, Derek Carr at Buffalo. So Derek Carr looks to be back, but Buffalo's a tough matchup, about 3rd best against quarterbacks. Or Matt Ryan at New York Jets.
This is tough. I kind of like both these guys. They're both playing on offenses that were underperforming or are underperforming against feisty teams from the AFC East. There's a lot of similarities here. I'll go with Derek Carr coming off a really good week last week. I think the Raiders are back, and I think the Falcons still have some things to figure out.
I agree. I think Matt Ryan's only thrown 1 more touchdown than picks this year. I think it's 7-6 or something like that.
Yeah,
or 8-7, which is like his worst start since his rookie year. We knew there was going to be statistical regression after last year's historic year, but I'm going to take Derek Carr. It looked really encouraging. Again, good week last week. 417 yards through the air, so I'll take him at Buffalo. Bad matchup, Alex Smith versus Denver or Phillip Rivers at New England.
Oh, man. I don't think I could pick against Alex Smith right now. Even though Denver's a terrible matchup, he's just looked way too good. Maybe Denver is, going to prove me wrong here, but I think, the Chiefs, even though they lost the last 2 weeks, have been rolling offensively. I'll go with Alex Smith.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to take Alex Smith. Denver's strong suit in their defense is their rush game. So I think Kareem Hunt will have some difficulty getting through that rush line. Phillip Rivers has been doing well, but Alex Smith versus Denver, this will be a kind of a shootout, I think. So I'll take him.
All right, and the wild card. Would you rather get stung by 100 bees or get beaten in a fight by Grayson Allen?
Grayson Allen, the Duke, what is he, a point guard or shooting guard? Who cares?
He's just like a trust fund baby.
All right, so before we answer this, we saw a video of Grayson Allen's pregame with Duke basketball. I don't know who
it was
they
like
were
their
playing.
pep rally, I think.
Pep rally, whatever it was. Just look up every time we touch Duke basketball. Google that, and I'm sure you'll find it. And it was the lamest fucking video I've ever seen of a pregame or a rally. They were literally dancing to Every Time We Touch by Cascada.
Just running around the stadium, just flailing.
Yeah. Well, basketball court, yeah.
Nice intro.
Yeah.
With that being said, I'm going to be stung by 100 bees. I'm a North Carolina basketball fan, so that's a huge part of this as well. Grayson Allen is on the short list of people that I would fight without provocation. It's very, very short list. I'm not really a aggressive person, but I'll take the 100 bee stings. I'll suck it up.
It sounds awful. It's just 100 bee stings. Like, even one bee sting sucks, so I'll get beaten in a fight by Grayson Allen. That's fine, whatever. I just don't like him.
I don't really know if I have an opinion on this. I've been stung by many bees before at one time, and it's not fun.
Not fun.
But I'm not sure if I'd rather be getting punched in the face So
It's more the
I'm probably
humiliation factor, though.
I think I'm going to have to go with the Bees.
It's more a
I'm gonna go with
humiliation factor because Grayson Allen's such a loser. He's such a dick. All right, anyway. So I'm the only one that's going to lose in a fight to him?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, have fun getting stung by 200 bees.
That would ruin my life, I think.
I think getting stung by 100 bees would ruin my life. All right. Running backs. Good matchups. Joe Mixon, the Cincinnati running back, versus Indianapolis, or Deion Lewis, New England running back, versus Los Angeles Chargers. Not the Clippers, the Chargers.
I like this one, actually. You put this one in there. This is a very
Thanks.
good one. Joe Mixon has looked fantastic the last 2 weeks. He just doesn't get the ball enough. I'm hoping that Cincinnati figures that out and gives them the ball more. I'm going Joe Mixon to run all over Indianapolis this week.
Yeah, I'll go with Joe Mixon too. It's too Deion Lewis is too you should pick him up for sure, but Gillisley's still getting some work there. Burkhead's back now. James White is on there at third down. Deion Lewis looks like the best back there by far, the most well-rounded, but he's just not getting the ball enough to be a bell cow. Neither is Mixon, but I think Mixon they'll be up against Indianapolis, so I agree. They'll run it a lot. Moderate matchup. DeAndre Washington, the Oakland running back, at Buffalo, or Tariq Cohen, the Chicago running back, at New Orleans.
I'll go with Cohen here just based on the matchup. I think New Orleans is much softer on D than Buffalo. And Cohen, even if he doesn't get a ton of rushing work, he's very dangerous in the passing game. So, especially at PPR, I'd go with Cohen.
I'm going to go Washington because I think he's going to get the most first and second down carries. I think Jalen Richard is going to split it almost evenly. And when they're in catch-up mode, if they are in catch-up mode, Richard's going to be the guy. But I think Washington will still have a lot of work. Tariq Cohen last week, 0 rushes, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 targets, 1 reception for 70 yards. So a little luck there. Why don't we say, let's say, and 1 touch. So I don't think you can count on that anymore. We put him here because New Orleans, they're going to be in catch-up mode, but I would still take DeAndre Washington at Buffalo, which is more of a kind of a defensive battle than Tariq Cohen. Bad matchup: Duke Johnson, Cleveland running back, versus Minnesota, or Javorius Buck Allen, the Baltimore running back, versus Miami.
2 pretty much PPR dependent guys. I will go with Duke Johnson just because I feel like Cleveland's going to be playing catch up the whole time, and he's been good despite who's playing quarterback, and Buck Allen's been pretty good too. But I think that I'll go with Duke Johnson just based on his production so far this year.
I'll go with Buck Allen. Alex Collins, the guy technically in front of Buck Allen on Baltimore, got 10 rushes, but he only produced 30 yards last week. So I think Buck Allen is their best all-around running back right now. Duke Johnson, I think, is the same for Cleveland, but Isaiah Crowell caught the ball a couple of times last week, and he had 17 rushes still. So Duke's not getting enough work. I think Buck Allen is getting the majority of work there. So I'll take Buck Allen.
All right, and the wild card. Would you rather eat a Taco Bell eggshell breakfast taco or eat a cup of Chipotle queso with chips?
Sean, after you. You have a lot to say about this.
Sean's got a bone to pick.
I think I'm the only one here that's had Chipotle queso. I was extremely excited to eat it. I'm a Chipotle enthusiast through and through. But I'm going Taco Bell here. As crazy as Taco Bell is for this bizarre fried egg as a taco shell concoction, Chipotle's queso is such a letdown that it's just baffling to me. I can get into it if you want me to.
Yeah,
I'm shocked. Yeah. Frankly, I need you to make a case for this because I'm so pro Chipotle. It's hard to sway me.
I need you to make a queso for this.
All right, so
I
like that. I'll make the queso against Chipotle queso. Okay, so we know Chipotle is all about being wholesome.
Really good. Hold on, I gotta stop you. That was really good, Scott.
It was.
Thanks, man.
That was so good.
I'm sick too, and I thought of that anyway.
All right, so we know Chipotle is all about being wholesome and natural, and not processed, and that's their whole thing.
Yeah,
I think that doesn't spell good queso. I think good queso is just cheese and spice, and it's just got to be a good combo. What they do, and this is based on me having it a couple weeks ago. What I think they do is they try to make queso like people make mac and cheese from scratch with they put flour and they put milk in first and they cook it together and then they add cheese slowly. No, fuck that. That's not how you make good queso. Good queso is just, if you want to know my opinion on queso, Tostitos queso is still king because they're not playing around. They're not screwing around. They know what they are. They're trying to cater to taste, not being this whole like cheese soup thing that Chipotle is trying to be. So Taco Bell, I mean, look, I respect their commitment to just the ridiculous pursuit of innovation. That it's that simple. That's
wow.
it. So
I respect Taco Bell's complete irregard for quality.
Exactly.
I agree.
Exactly.
I completely
There's
agree
no
with that.
pretense there.
It looks like
For
shit,
quality.
and I would rather have that 100 times than Chipotle trying to rip off their own version of queso, and apparently it sucks. I got to try it for myself, but like Taco Bell made an eggshell. You got to try it. It looks disgusting, but you got to try it.
Let me end by saying Chipotle, please just tinker with the recipe a little bit. Make it happen for us, okay? It's that simple.
And sponsor us.
If I can't speak on Chipotle's queso because I haven't had it, but yeah, Chipotle sponsors. But I have had knockoff Chipotle, which is called Fajita Grill. So anyone who's been upstate near the Oswego area knows that Fajita Grill has bomb queso. It's very, very good, and I actually miss it because of the queso. They have amazing chips with like some spice on them. So if you ever go upstate, check out Fajita Grill. Find a Fajita Grill and go to it.
Definitely,
Get the queso and chips. Yep.
Taco Bell sponsor us. Grayson Allen sponsor us. Anyway, wide receivers. Good matchup. Alshon Jeffrey at San Francisco or Terrell Pryor versus Dallas.
Okay, two sort of underperforming guys. Very good matchups. I'll go with Alshon Jeffrey just because I think he's been playing a little bit better than Terrell Pryor. And San Francisco just got absolutely crushed by Dallas. Des Bryant had a good game. Him and Jeffrey have similar profiles, so I'll go with Jeffrey.
Same thing. I'll take Jeffrey. This is recorded before Monday Night Football, so we don't know how Terrell Pryor did this week versus Philly, but he's been terrible. He only had one touchdown all year. And Alshon Jeffrey, same thing, hasn't been producing at his levels, but again, looks like he'll be a high performer at San Francisco. It was terrible against the pass. Moderate matchup, Will Fuller, the Texans wide receiver at Seattle, or Devontae Parker, the Miami Dolphins wide receiver versus Baltimore if he plays.
Yeah, so this is real quick. I'm kind of bummed that Houston had a bye week in week 7. It's like probably the worst timing for them to possibly have a bye. They were absolutely rolling offensively. So I'm a little worried that they're going to come out a little bit flat this week, especially against Seattle. But, even if Parker plays, I think he's still going to be a little bit beat up. Kenny Stills is emerging. Landry had a great game last week. So I'll go with Will Fuller at Seattle because I think that DeAndre Hopkins is obviously going to draw Richard Sherman. So I think that might open things up for Fuller a little bit.
Yeah, I'll go with Fuller too. Again, for those same reasons, you're hitting the nail on the head. Devontae Parker, even if he comes back, he's going to be a little hurt. Kenny Stills had a good game, so they're probably more apt to keep Devontae Parker out or limited at least.
Yeah,
because they know they have a good backup. But I agree, Will Fuller. It's going to be tough because he doesn't have that many targets. So again, think Martavis Bryant circa 2014 when he had a ton of touchdowns on not a lot of targets, but still, I think he could get through Seattle's defense when DeAndre Hopkins is getting a lot of attention. Bad matchup, Golden Tate, the Detroit Lions wide receiver versus Pittsburgh, or Des Bryant, the Dallas wide receiver at Washington.
I think I'm going to assume that Josh Norman is, back and
coming back,
at full strength. And I think for that reason alone, I'll take Golden Tate. Obviously, I just talked about Pittsburgh's pass defense being really good, but I think they, zone defense kind of lends itself to teams playing underneath, and that's Golden Tate's game. So I think Golden Tate will have a better week.
Yeah, and actually, Golden Tate is questionable too. So this is all under the assumption that he plays as well. Same with Devontae Parker. So if Golden Tate plays versus Pittsburgh, or it's him or Des Bryant at Washington, I'm going to take Des Bryant at Washington. Even if Josh Norman plays, I think he'll give it the best of him. If Norman comes back from the injury, he'll be a little limited. So I'll take Des at Washington.
All right, and the wild card. Would you rather go to an amusement park hungover all day and go on every ride, or be on the outside of every inside joke for a year. Actually, I want to change that. Not just hungover, catastrophically hungover.
That's the only type of hungover I know.
Like so hungover that when you wake up, like it's dark in your room, but you think the sun is inside your room.
So, speaking from experience,
this happened to Scott
weekend,
2 days ago.
This happened to me 2 days ago. Yeah. I think this is part of the reason I'm sick. So, we will go into details of Friday night, but safe to say, I did not have a good morning on Saturday morning. Woke up very early and was hungover all day long, and we decided to go to an amusement park. I opted to not go on the rides, and I was still in like excruciating pain. So I'm going to take the outside of every inside joke for a year because I feel like I have a good sense of humor, so I could put up with it for a year. But amusement park hungover all day, like excruciating hungover, that sounds terrible. And you have to go on a ride. You don't have a choice. No thanks.
I feel like there might be a point in the day where you kind of like cross the bridge. Like, I don't know the terminology I'm looking for here, but like you kind of get over the hangover. And I feel like that moment would be just euphoric. So I think I'm going to go with that, especially because it's only one day instead of like a year of paranoia. So I'll go with the amusement park catastrophically hungover.
Yeah, I think I don't think I'd be able to. I'm the kind of guy that I wouldn't be able to handle not being on the inside of the inside joke. That would just psychologically destroy me. So I'm gonna go with the hangover because if anything, I get a good story out of it, and then I can tell that story, and possibly an inside joke comes out of that story.
Oh yes, and then we'll keep Scott out of it.
Mm-hmm. I was really saying the outside of every inside joke just to be a little different than you guys because I knew you were going with that, and because
sure you were.
All right, definitely.
Should we tell the details of what happened the night before?
Fuck you. No, we're not.
Scott kicked a hobo.
No, I did not. No,
we're getting to that soon. Don't worry.
Oh, Jesus. No.
By accident.
It was completely by accident. I was running in my drunken state, in my drunken stupor on Friday night to wherever we were going, sprinting down the streets of Manhattan. And out of nowhere, like, there's a homeless guy laying down, like, sleeping, and there's a box that I didn't see because there was, like, poles, and he was sleeping in between two of the poles. And all of a sudden, this box, like, comes out of nowhere, and I kicked it by accident. I didn't kick a homeless man.
I don't think the box came out of nowhere.
Well, it came out of nowhere.
I think you came out of nowhere.
I definitely came
out
of nowhere.
The box was sitting there forever, and
I
you
felt
came
really
out
bad.
of nowhere.
I didn't see him there. I felt really bad, and I apologized and like kept on running and did this like I like turned around and like put my hand up and apologized. But that guy he shot up and like stared at me. It was scary. Felt bad. I felt like a dick.
Oh man.
Right.
So, but I did not do it on purpose.
You didn't do it on purpose.
I did not.
It was
do
an
that
accident.
On purpose.
Accidents happen. We forgive you.
Thank you.
Move on.
Douche. All right, tight end. This is your week. Me to say fuck you, Rob. Oh wait, really quick. Rob was trying to help me out on Friday night, and he was trying to give me water. So he comes up to me and goes, and this is when I was sick after my drunken stupor, and goes, "Hey Scott, I got water for you." And I just go, "Fuck you, Rob." Like over and over again. I thought he was messing with me, I guess, for some reason.
Carrying over his behavior from the pod into real life.
Exactly. Yep. All right. Anyway, tight ends for week 8. Good matchups. Jordan Reed versus Dallas or Austin Seferian-Jenkins, the Jets tight end. We did not put his matchup, but they are playing. I'll look it up. They're playing the Atlanta.
Since I just traded for him in one of my leagues, I'm going to go with Jordan Reed. I'm going to try to put it into existence. Dallas is awful against the pass, and I think we're obviously we don't know the results of Monday night, but I think he might start to turn things around for within that Washington passing game.
I'm going to go Seferian-Jenkins versus Atlanta. He's had touchdowns in like consecutive weeks. He looked great. He almost had 2 touchdowns against the New England Patriots. So Atlanta can't really stop anything on defense, so I'll go with Seferian-Jenkins. Reed hasn't looked healthy all year, and they just admitted that he's not 100%. Moderate matchup, Cameron Brate, the Tampa Bay tight end versus Carolina, or Kyle Rudolph, Minnesota tight end at Cleveland.
I think I'll take Kyle Rudolph in a bounce-back week. I think Minnesota will get back on track offensively. And I think Kyle Rudolph will be a big part of that, especially against an awful Cleveland defense.
I'll go Cameron Brate. I think I think last week he still had a pretty solid game, even with what's the rookie? Jesus, OJ Howard having 2 touchdowns. But I think Cameron Braid, it'll tip to his favor this week versus Carolina. Carolina hasn't been too good against the tight end. They're pretty middling in the league. Bad matchup: David Njoku, Cleveland tight end versus Minnesota, or Zach Miller, Chicago tight end at New Orleans.
Oh, this is tough. Mitch Trubisky completed 4 passes last week, so I think I got to go with David Njoku here against Minnesota, just by default, basically.
I'll go Zach Miller. I think this is going to be a shootout. It's at New Orleans. I think Trubisky's going to need a safety valve, a couple safety valves, probably Tariq Cohen, and Zach Miller being 2 of them.
All right, and the wild card. Oh, so
Jesus.
weird how this came up. We've got some good writers on this show. Would you rather accidentally kick a hobo?
Oh my god.
Or accidentally moan on a bus?
All right, I'm going to go really quick, and I'm just going to preface this again. I did not kick a hobo. I kicked this box that came out of nowhere, and it's accidental. It's accidental. It was accident. So I can't say it again. I'll moan on a bus by accident.
Oof.
I could get away with it. Like, just blame it on the guy next to me.
Let me just say, I think the bus is like the perfect setting for that accidental moan. Like, out of all the public transportation you could have picked, like a bus.
I just think of Fogel. Yeah, wait, you imagine Trevor Siemian, Fogel, aka Fogel, on a bus? Like, it's super bad, and he's the one that moans by accident.
I'm just thinking, think about other public transportation, like a train or a plane. It's not the same. The bus just carries that like blue collar, like, tough as nails persona you have to put up on the bus, and just accidentally moaning.
Smells like farts.
Breaks all of it. Oh man.
Yeah.
But
that's
I feel
a weird
like
place to moan.
Exactly. It's like top
someone's
5
like,
weirdest place.
Yeah. Someone's like doing something inappropriate.
Yeah.
I feel like, give us your answer first, Sean.
I think for that reason alone, I'll go with accidentally kick a hobo.
Okay.
Oh wow, you're a real piece of shit, Sean.
Yeah, you're a real piece of shit. Well, here's my opinion. The bus seems like a place where someone would be moaning anyway to me. I feel so I feel like I would blend in, like, if I'd just be part of the freak show.
One of the regulars.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna value human life and go with moan on a bus.
I guess the only one that doesn't value human life.
You value human life, and you just said buses are a freak show.
Oh my God. Like a homeless man, huh? You piece of shit.
You got your priorities backwards, my man.
Yeah, but at least I don't want to go around kicking people. I just want to blend in.
Accidentally, exactly.
Keyword accidentally. You're choosing to do it now, but you have the choice.
Yeah, but it's like it's not a moment of your choosing.
Yeah, so you're not really. It's not really an accidental moan either, because you're choosing.
Right, you chose it.
That's a weird thing that would happen.
This was really just a social experiment.
That's bizarre. Imagine an accidental moan. That'd be weird.
Oh, sorry. Whoops. Who was that? What?
Who's that? Yeah, see, you could play it off. All right, anyway, streaming defenses for Week 8. Vikings, Bengals, and Saints all have good matchups, so try to get those guys.
Could also moan into a cough, like kind of blend it. Like,
all right, let's get into our last segment for Week 8, our Hail Mary, Fail Mary. So this is when the Hail Mary section, we're just throwing darts at a board. Each position, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. These are guys that probably aren't owned a lot. Guys that no one sees coming that we think will score above their position average in Week 8. Fail Mary, on the other hand, is guys that are pretty highly touted guys that we think will score below their position average in Week 8. So let's start with Sean's Hail Mary from last week. Got a pretty good call with C.J. Beathard.
Yeah, I mean, C.J. Beathard was, he didn't look good by any stretch of the imagination, but he put up a pretty decent stat line. My other 3 calls were pretty off, but that's to be expected with guys that, are probably sitting on waiver wires, across the board. Yeah, they're Hail Marys here. So C.J. Beathard, I wouldn't recommend him, week to week moving forward, but against a terrible defense or in a game where they're going to need to catch up, as long as he's still starting for them, Kyle Shanahan's one of the best offensive coordinators in the game. He's just head coach, so you could do worse. But that's with all that being said, he's not my Hail Mary quarterback for this week.
Yeah, and I'd just like to pat myself on the back a little bit. My Chris Ivory running back on Jacksonville pick. This is
Two
before
really good
we knew
calls.
Fournette was out. So I got kind of lucky there, but he did pretty well. I got a touchdown, 17 rushes, and then Juju Smith-Schuster got a touchdown as well with an aggressively funny TD celebration. That was not the right way to describe it, but it was funny TD celebration. But he got a touchdown too, so on Pittsburgh. So that was a pretty good pick.
Yeah, let's go position by position. I think that'll break it up a little bit better. Let's go quarterbacks first. I've been talking about him all pod. I could hardly contain myself. The Alex Moran of the NFL, Matt Moore. I think this guy's going to throw a ton of picks, sure, but he takes shots downfield, and he's in my opinion, one of the best backups in the NFL. So I think he could be, a nice play in a spot start, even against Baltimore's good defense.
My Hail Mary quarterback pick is Mitchell Trubisky on Chicago at New Orleans. It's going to be a shootout. He's going to throw it more than 7 times. The Bears' defense is not that good. New Orleans is going to run the train on them offensively, and they're going to be playing a lot of catch up. So I'm gonna go with Mitch the bitch.
Not a ringing endorsement when that's your nickname.
No, that's his nickname.
My running back for this week is Seattle running back J.D. McKissick. This guy literally came out of nowhere a couple weeks ago, and honestly, he's they're at their best offensively when he's on the field. I think he's their most dynamic running back player. Obviously, he's not a every down back, but I think he should continue to grow into a viable PPR role for the Seattle offense.
I'm going Jalen Richard at running back, the Oakland running back at Buffalo. It's a tough matchup for sure, but he's the pass catching guy. This could be like a gritty game, Buffalo and Oakland. Oakland's a pretty high scoring offense, but Buffalo is one of the few good defenses out there. So it could be a gritty, low scoring game. Jalen Richard should get a ton of work into the backfield and running it too. And he split with DeAndre Washington last week, but I think he'll get a couple more carries and targets this week.
Yep, my wide receiver. If you watch the Thursday night game, you know that Tony Romo really likes this guy. That's enough for me. Demarcus Robinson, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver. He seems to be emerging as the number 2 wide receiver option for this obviously explosive Chiefs offense. I know Albert Wilson had that kind of fluky long touchdown, but Demarcus Robinson played better than Wilson did. Got obviously more targets. And if Aqib Talib and Chris Harris focus on Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in their game against Denver this weekend, I think Demarcus Robinson could be in for a nice little surprise game.
Wide receiver, Hail Mary dart throw. I'm going Chris Moore on Baltimore versus Miami. Mike Wallace, their main guy, had an injury scare. Macklin was hurt as well. Chris Moore has looked pretty good the past 2 weeks. He got a touchdown this past week. So again, dart throw, but Miami's defense and secondary isn't that good. I think Chris Moore can get another touchdown this week.
Yeah, let's wrap up with our tight ends. My guy is A.J. Derby on the Denver Broncos. Obviously, Trevor Siemian hasn't looked great. We have a lot of fun making fun of him. But A.J. Derby, a couple weeks ago, had an incredible one-handed catch. In my opinion, catch of the season. Ball just stuck to his glove, and he just ran it in for his first score on the year. He had 6 catches for 60 yards this week. And if Brock Osweiler does wind up taking over, we know one thing about Brock. He loves his tight ends. So I think A.J. Derby could be a nice, kind of tight end sleeper moving forward.
Yeah, tight end, I'll go Nick O'Leary on Buffalo versus Oakland. He's getting a good amount of targets in Charles Clay's absence. I think Charles Clay is out for a couple more weeks as well. He didn't get the touchdown. His backup got the touchdown, but I think Nick O'Leary is the second tight end there, and now the first with Charles Clay out. So versus Oakland, should get some work in the middle of the field there. Now we want to talk about Fail Mary. So that was our Hail Mary. Let's talk about Fail Mary last week. Sean was pretty good, 2-2. You had Jimmy Graham and then Jordan Reed. I don't know. What am I saying?
Well, Jimmy Graham, dropped 2 passes that would have been touchdowns. He still put up a good stat line because he did catch a different touchdown pass. But if you want to, you could count him as another, win for me there. I won't. I called that Ty Montgomery and AJ Green would have off games and was way off on Derek Carr. So obviously, you got to put your own input into whether you're going to, bench these guys or play them. These guys are mostly starters we're going to talk about moving forward. But these guys are, I think, guys that we're scared about this week, at risk for underperforming. Yeah.
And then let's talk about this week, week 8. quarterback, I have Matt Ryan at New York Jets. Just not having a good year. Jets are okay versus the pass, a little better than we thought they were. And they're 3-4, so they're a gritty team. But Atlanta just looks off. Matt Ryan only has 1 touchdown more than interceptions this year, and looks like a huge down year after a historic year last year.
Yeah, I'm going to be pulling for the Jets this week against Matt Ryan, so I hope that pans out. My guy is Dak Prescott. I think Washington's defense is legit, and I think Josh Norman will probably be back. I'm not buying Dallas yet just because they beat up on San Francisco, so I'm a little bit worried about Dak Prescott next week.
Running back, I'm taking Kareem Hunt versus Denver.
Don't
as
you
my
dare.
Hail Mary.
Don't you dare. Stop.
Yeah, sorry.
Stop.
I know. I have him in one league now. I just traded for him. But Denver hasn't let a rushing touchdown up all year, so I don't think it's going to change with Kareem Hunt this week.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten to the end zone himself, so that's definitely at play next week. In the last couple of weeks, he hasn't gotten to the end zone. But Carlos Hyde, my guy, I think Philly's just going to crush San Francisco, and he won't get a ton of work. So they're obviously they're going to need to pass a ton to keep up, and Philly's tough on running backs in the first place. So Carlos Hyde, I think, will have a down week this week.
Wide receiver, I know I picked him in one of our Would You Rathers over the other guy, but Des Bryant at Washington, I think Norman might be back. I think he'll still get the best of Norman, but still not enough to overcome that position average that we were talking about. And Des has had an off year, so I think it continues this week.
Yeah, my guy's Chris Hogan, New England Patriots wide receiver. I think Brandon Cooks is obviously emerging. Gronk's still healthy. I think he's going to start to fade in the next couple of weeks.
And that tight end, I got Hunter Henry at New England. New England's been turning their defense around. Austin Hooper only had 1 catch against them last week. Hunter Henry's been looking pretty good week to week now. He's the guy there compared to Antonio Gates, but I don't think he's going to have a touchdown this week or even do that well against New England.
Yeah, and my guy's O.J. Howard. I think he's going to fall back down to earth. He's going to be more inconsistent week to week than Cameron Brate. I think Brate's more usable every week. And expecting Howard to go off for 2 touchdowns is just not going to happen this week, especially against a tough Carolina defense.
All right, so that does it for our Week 7 recap, Week 8 preview. As always, subscribe on iTunes, leave us a review, helps move the pod forward. Again, this is all Rob, Sean, and I doing this out of love of the game and for you guys, the listeners. You guys
love
and gals,
of the game,
listeners.
love for the people.
Exactly. Look, check us out on Unqualified FF on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We always have a poll for Thursday Night Football. We have fun with that one, and we'll hopefully get some visuals and stuff like that out on those social media accounts. But keep on listening. Give us feedback when where you see fit.
Well, see you later.
Oh, big helps, huh? Oh, see you later.